All right, so we're back up. Can people hear us now that I have made some adjustments to the hardware? Hooray! They can hear us now. Yes, Yay! They can. Thanks, everybody. Starting again, same way. Round 2. Welcome to Zulu's Board Game Cafe. I'm Brian. I'm here with Seanan McGuire, and we're going to be opening a bunch of collector's edition packs of Midnight Hunt, Innistrad, the new Magic the Gathering set. We're very excited. Johnny got to write the new Wrenn and Seven Story, and we're super excited about that. I'm super excited to see where it goes. So, coming back around, we're going to go ahead and start cracking into these because I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, new cards are the most exciting cards, and every card is inherently a new card.
Yep. And just one of my favorite things about Magic is always just the thrill of opening up a pack. Yeah. Even when I know, because I've been staring at these cards for, the past 60 days as they release spoilers, just feverishly being like, tell me more Magic stuff. So getting to open it up, see what's inside, especially these collector boosters. If you haven't gotten to open a collector booster of Magic yet, it's just pure good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and swap over to our... Make sure I've got the right camera up. Yep, I do.
Yep, little hand camera.
Open it over Han's camera. I'm going to start handing these things out and see what's inside of it.
I'm just trying to see what the camera is.
You don't even need to flip it. You hold it facing yourself, and I've got the camera set up that the camera will show it face up to the people on the stream.
Here is our first collector booster pack. I'm actually not sure who this is on the cover. I am sure that we know who that character is, but I don't know her name.
Yeah, it's not supposed. I think it's one of the witches, right?
Well, probably. So our first card is a blue devious cover-up. Am I supposed to read these so that people know what the card text says?
If you want.
It's an instant. It counters your target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard, and you may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library. My brother is going to break my ankles to get one of these. Next up, we have a Rotten Reunion, which is another instant. Exile up to 1 target creature from a graveyard and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decay. You can also use Flashback to cast this card from your graveyard, which is a fantastic mechanic.
Yeah.
The Flashback mechanic is just very exciting.
Yep. What's also neat about this version of this card is that cards very much like this have existed in the past, but usually they require a card in the graveyard to exile. This is the first card where you don't actually have to target something. You can just cast that to get the zombie at instant speed with 1 mana without needing a target.
Right, because it says exile up to 1. Which is doubly exciting because don't we have a card in this set that lets you modify any number by adding 1 to it?
Not off the top of my head.
I think that's a Midnight Hunt card. Our first creature is a spirit. It's a blue Shipwrecked Sifters. When Shipwrecked Sifters enters the battlefield, draw, then discard. Whenever you discard a spirit card or a card with Disturb, put a +1/+1 counter on Shipwrecked Sifters.
All right.
And looking at this, that's a horrifying looking thing. I am not sure I want to find that in my house.
Yeah.
The Soul Guide Griff is one of the creatures that they have been showing us ahead of time. He's a white creature. He's got flying. When Soul Guide Griff enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. So we're leaning really heavily on the exile mechanic.
Yeah, graveyard interaction has always been one of the big themes in Innistrad, so it's not surprising that they come back around to that and focusing on it even more than they did in the last Innistrad set with Shadows.
So we're moving into our uncommons, and first up we've got Lunar Frenzy, which is an any mana red instant. Target creature you control gets +X/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. So that's a nightmare, especially for a relatively cheap cost. The Grizzly Ghoul is a zombie bear, black-green, so that'll synergize well with your Witherbloom sets. He's got trample, and he enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature that died this turn.
Yeah.
So that's scary.
And more bears.
More bears.
Oh,
the Innistrad lands are just so pretty.
I was so enthralled by these basics when I first saw these previews.
I am not letting anybody take any of my lands away from me when we're building. So our first rare is a Falconrith Pit Fighter, Vampire Warrior. She's a single red mana to cast, and for 1 any and 1 red, you can discard a card, sacrifice a vampire, draw 2 lands. Activate only if an opponent lost life this turn. So do you have to discard and sacrifice? Like, I'm not actually sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are all part of the cost of that card to activate it, is you have to do all of the things.
Okay, so you need to have at least one vampire. It could be this vampire. It doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a party.
That it lets you use other ones is part of why that card is interesting, because there's lots of, I don't know about this set, but in the previous Innistrad set, in Shadows and Eldritch Moon, there's lots of ways to make little 1/1 vampire tokens. So if you can get an engine making those online, that makes that really
you can
well.
do a lot of damage.
Also, the Madness mechanic that was discard interactive combos really well with her.
Cool. So this Cleaver Scab is 3 any 1 blue. He's a zombie horror. For 3 and tap, you sacrifice another zombie and create 2 tokens that are copies of the sacrificed creature. And since I know we have cards that let you turn anything into a zombie, congrats, you now have 2 zombie Tiamat rampaging around.
Yep.
That's just not a fun time. This Willowgeist is a single green treefolk spirit. He's got trample, and whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Willowgeist.
Oh, he is one of the ones that I am most excited about for Eternal formats.
Oh yeah.
The potential of that card to get gigantic fast.
He's going to get big and ugly, and he's cheap as hell. Ugh. Fangblade Brigand. This is beautiful art. I love this frame that they've got on the special cards. That's a 3 any 1 red human werewolf. For 1 in red, Fangblade Brigand gets +1/+0 and gains first strike till end of turn, but is daybound. Do you understand how that mechanic works?
I do. So Daybound and Nightbound is the new werewolf mechanic. Go ahead and flip that card over.
Yep. Okay, cool. And here's our Nightbound version. The Fangblade Eviscerator. For 1 and a red, he gets +1/+0 at first strike, just like the other guy. But for 4 and a red, creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. So what a charming nightmare this is going to be for anyone that wants to fight against you.
Yep. So the Daybound and Nightbound mechanic, they actually wanted to have this as the original mechanic and actually call it this. What we got was the original werewolf mechanic, which spells out what this does functionally, which is if it is currently daytime and you cast no spells on your turn, at the beginning of the next upkeep it will become night. When it becomes nighttime, anything that is daybound will transform, or daybound or nightbound, because anything that's daybound on one side flips over.
And then there are cards that have a transform cost where they're not bound, but they flip over.
The Eldritch Moon in werewolves were the ones that you paid a cost for, and what's different, there's some subtle differences, because the original werewolves basically have all of that printed directly on them, where if you cast 2 spells in a turn, it becomes day the next turn, and if you cast no spells in a turn, it becomes night the next turn after that, if it's day or night. Daybound and Nightbound codify that into the mechanic, but now there are also cards that just care if it's daytime or nighttime, even if they aren't werewolves.
Okay.
And we'll undoubtedly see some of those as we open
Oh
this
yeah,
up.
probably so. Next up we've got the Tireless Hauler, who is a human werewolf with vigilance and is also daybound. So on the other side we've got the Dire Strain Brawler with vigilance and nightbound. And this is an interesting case, to me at least, because the Brawler has a higher both attack and defense, but is otherwise not really different at all.
Yep, that's a lot of the more common, the common slot werewolves are very much just turns into a huge thing for what would be a relatively inexpensive cost for a creature that big.
Cool. And here's a nice dual land. Enters tapped unless you control 2 or more, but it can give you blue or black. I like that.
And these are a brand new land cycle, the slow lands. They are very similar to ones that we got in Battle for Zendikar, but those cared about basics instead of just any lands. So I think these are probably going to see more play.
Yeah, I think so too. Village Watch, we've got another werewolf. This one's red, haste and daybound on the day side, and then wolves and werewolves you control have haste. So the Village Watch Village Reavers is going to give you a heck of a lot of haste if you're playing a werewolf deck. Ghoul Caller's Harvest here, which is a black-green, and it looks like there's our girl Gisa riding around on a dead horse, so she's just going to have some fun there. You create X number 2/2 black zombie creatures with Decayed, where X is half the number of creature cards in your graveyard rounded up, and we have a flashback cost on that. This is really cheap and really useful if you're running any kind of zombie-themed deck. I like that. I also like seeing Gisa. She makes me happy.
Yeah, Gisa and Geralf are some of my favorite characters from the original Innistrad set. I'm sad they didn't get cards until Commander 2014.
Right, and here's a bat token, which is a human token on the other side. And the human token has a lovely pumpkin head, so he's having a good time.
Very nice.
And now I think we're switching over to you for
Yeah.
that.
So, now I'm going to open one up.
Yay!
Yeah, more magic cards. Shoop. Alright, oop. So I'm going to start with, sure stuff is legible, with Blade Brand. Gives creatures death touch, draws cards. Straightforward. More cool combat tricks useful for limited. Cathartic Commando. Oh yes, this one. It's yet another Felidar Cub. Good artifact and enchantment destruction attack to a creature, but this one's got flash, which makes it so that you can flash in a creature, use it to block, and then also use it to immediately destroy an opponent's thing. So lots of multi-features there. Revenge of the Drowned. This is one of the new ones that sure stuff gets lit appropriately. Let's see. Target creature you own is put onto the top or bottom of a library, and you get decayed zombies. See, my first werewolf here is the Bird Admirer. It's reach and day bound, then just flips into a very large werewolf, the 3/5 Shredder. See, another one of the Griffs, the Loyal Griff. Enters the battlefield when you turn another creature you control to its owner's hand. So very good at bouncing that enter and leave mechanic ability. Alright, and we have a Scab Wrangler. Just tap 3 untapped creatures you control and use it to tap creatures. Just a minor control effect. Another one of those beautiful mountains. Oh, we'll have an entire red limited deck's worth if we keep this up. It's just so good looking with those line arts. Siphon Insight, one of the heavy text cards, lets you look at the top 2 cards, target opponent's library, exile one of them face down, and put the other on the bottom of their library. For as long as the exiled card is exiled, you can cast it and use mana as though it were any color to cast it. So that lets you manipulate your opponent's deck for relatively cheap, which is nice.
I really got the better seat for text-heavy cards here.
It's true. I am doing this from my tablet, which is a powerful little tablet, but did not quite support the 4th camera being set up to stream on it when I tried to set all this up. See, now I have one of the commander cards now. This is the Tomb Tyrant. New commander card, gives all zombies +1/+1 and lets you sack creatures, return zombies at random from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Ooh.
And you do need to have 3 other zombies in your graveyard for that. But that's fine. Zombie decks are traditionally very, very good at putting zombies in their own graveyards.
Right.
See, next one of the new flashback cards, Galvanic Iteration. When you cast your first instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it and choose new target. So it's a new fork, but it's a fork with flashback. Oh, and I've got a whole lot of the fancy arts here. Harvest Stride Infiltrator. Trample, Daybound, flips into the big one. Trample and Daybound. The Village Watch. So I'm just getting every keyword werewolf here. I got the Trample one. Here's the Haste one. We got the Reach one earlier. Oh, and here she is.
There's our girl.
Oh my goodness. Here is
so
Gisa.
Nice to see her again.
Let's get her in frame properly so everyone can get a good look, because this line art Gisa is just fantastic. Gisa, Glorious Resurrector. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. At the beginning of your upkeep, put all creature cards exiled with Gisa into the battlefield under your control, and they gain Decayed. Decayed is one of the new mechanics. It means that if you are decayed, you cannot block, and if you attack, you are sacrificed at the end of combat. So it makes it not a super useful as a creature, but for Gisa in particular, you're getting all sorts of specialty creatures as decayed, and you can, if they have some really cool power, that power just sticks around on the board and doesn't go away. So you don't need to attack with it and lose it. You probably didn't even want to block with it. You have taken stuff from your opponent. She is going to be a very, very popular commander. And with these specialty arts, so exciting. Can we look forward to seeing Gisa and Geralf stories? Am I allowed to ask that?
I am pretty sure if I answer direct questions of that nature, Wizards of the Coast is allowed to repossess my kidneys.
Oh, right.
And I like my kidneys.
All right, then I shan't push lines of such questioning further while there is an audience. Let's see, we have a couple more cards in the pack still. We have, those are the back sides of things. Here we go, there's the front. We have a Blind Admirer, there's the Reach Werewolf. It's just keyword werewolf soup in this particular pack. Oh, goodness, getting the black ones to light up. Graveyard Trespasser. Let's see, he has Ward Discard a card, which means if you try to target him with an ability, you have to discard a card for that. And then whenever he enters the battlefield or attacks, you get to exile a target card from a graveyard. And if a creature was exiled this way, you drain your opponent's, and then he's Nightbound into the Graveyard Glutton. It's beautiful arts. The camera would capture a little bit better. He has Ward of Discard a card as well, and whenever he enters or attacks, you exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. For each card you exile that way, you drain 1, so it just does the original effect twice. Okay, nice. So that's my first pack.
So as we move on to seconds, I'm going to ask you, for the sake of your eyesight, do you want me to pass you the really simple cards and you can hand me your text heavies when you open the next one?
Sure, that sounds totally fair.
I think that will help with our camera situation a little bit.
Pass cards between 2 camera setups.
Yeah. You'll still get to see them all. We just might not be reading off the ones that we opened every time.
They're going to build me a studio so that in the future these actually have more better design setups. I talk very good on camera.
I'm just trying to figure out where to put my hand because.
Yep. Now you just tilt forward and there we go.
So this is Blessed Defiance. It's a single white instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and lifelink until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, which I find a little ominous, but when that creature dies, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. And then we've got the Dawnheart Rejuvenator. It's a human warlock, 3 any 1 green. When Dawnheart Rejuvenator enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. That's an exciting guy.
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, any ramp creature is always going to be useful, especially limited.
Yep, the Ardent Elementalist is 3 any 1 red, human shaman. When Ardent Elementalist enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. A lot of small text in this set. The Lunarch Veteran, 1 white human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. And for Disturb, you can cast it from the graveyard transformed into the Luminous Phantom, which is a spirit creature. Whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, you gain 1 life and has flying. If Luminous Phantom would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So a question for you, do tokens count as creatures for this purpose?
Let me see it one more time. Unless it specifies non-token, then tokens totally work for that.
You stick this puppy into a zombie mill deck and you can just have a life generator.
Yep.
Which is exciting. Diagraph Rebirth is a black-green sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Flashback is 5, 1 black, 1 green. You can cast it from your graveyard, which is nice.
That's another one that features Gisa, right? And she's just out here flinging a shovel around.
Oh yeah, that is. There's Gisa. It's dark enough that I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah.
But she is having a party.
One of the new commander cards that features Gisa, I am very happy about. It's called Ghoul's Night Out.
Oh my
and
god!
It's just her and a bunch of zombies riding around. And
the amount of focus on Gisa in this set makes me very happy.
Mm-hmm.
The Heirloom Mirror is the first artifact we've pulled.
Oh yeah!
And that's 1 and a black. Tap and pay 1 tap, pay 1 life, discard a card, draw a card, mill a card, then put a ritual counter on Heirloom Mirror. Wow, okay. If it has 3 or more ritual counters on it, remove them and transform it. Activate only as a sorcery. And then it turns into an inherited fiend, which has flying. Spend 2 and 1 black to exile target creature card from a graveyard and put +1/+1 counter on inherited fiend. Well, that's a nice nightmare.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about Innistrad is all of the possessed objects that actually have demons hidden in them.
That's a boring thing to pass you, but it has no text. And at this point, I don't trust that you're not handing me half a dozen cards just for the sake of being able to see them. Angel Fire Ignition is a red-white. It's got that Griff we saw before. It's a sorcery. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on your target creature. It gains Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn. That's so many.
So many keywords.
Visions of Dread. Target opponent puts a creature card of their choice from their graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Now, this has a different logo on it. Does that signify that it's only in collector packs?
Yeah, so that's from one of the commander decks is actually where that's going to be from.
Oh, nice.
Because these packs can have cards that are from the commander decks.
So I'm expecting this to probably be in Wilhelm's commander deck.
Very likely.
Especially given that it looks like that's Gisa. Well, it's not actually Gisa. It's a rotted version of Gisa, if it is. It looks like it's wearing her dress. But target opponent puts a creature card of their choice from their graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You've got a nice time. Oh, Triskaidekaphile! Yay!
Yeah, I love all the 13 cards.
Yeah, this is another one that my brother is planning to assault me for. Because he plays hard to have no maximum hand size. And this is a cheap way to get it. It's 1 and a blue for no max hand size. Then you can just keep drawing. It's a nightmare.
And the whole, win the game if you have 13 cards or whatever
it's
it does.
Not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, seems good.
Candlegrove Witch, Human Warlock. Oh, this is who's on the packs.
Oh, yeah, there she is.
There she is, the Candlegrove Witch. That's got to be hurting her neck. Coven, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, Candlegrove Witch gains flying until end of turn. I don't like that. Sigarda, Champion of Light. She is a green and 2 white legendary creature, angel, flying, trample, and humans you control get +1/+1. She's also got the Coven mechanic. Whenever Sigarda attacks, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a human creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And we're continuing to... Oh my god, there she is! Yay!
Oh, hooray! We
Look
found her.
Wrenn and Seven, legendary planeswalker. We've all seen her previewed by this point, and that is a lot of text, so I'm going to spare you the sound of my voice for 2 seconds. But this is just such a gorgeous card. The art design of this set was incredible overall, but Wrenn and Seven is spectacular. Look at her. Okay, you have looked at her.
Yes.
And here is a token creature. It's an ooze. This creature's power is equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. That is too big for a token creature, and you're going to need a lot of these zombie tokens to play an Innistrad deck.
Right, so we'll swap back over to some of the other ones that we got there. Actually, we'll take a quick look at them anyhow. So there's some of the ones that we've seen already. It's the Daybound, the Manadork, big one, the Ward Werewolf. We saw this one before. The Burly Brawler. Yeah, it turns into the Dire Strain Demolisher. It's the Werewolf with Ward. And, of course, the Island that we saw earlier. See, and now I'll go ahead and crack a second one if I can pull the... We have these beautiful new tables, and they're very
slippery.
Yeah, they're so slick you can't quite pick a card up off them too easily. Get the cables out of the way. And of course, as we start to see duplicates, this will go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
See, first up, we have a Brimstone Vandal. Has Menace. This is one of the cards I talked about that interacts with the day or night mechanic. If it's not night or day, it becomes day when he comes into play. And when it becomes night or day, he deals damage to each opponent. That one. Have an Arrogant Outlaw. That's our next one. He's a vampire. When he comes into play, if an opponent lost life this turn, he does a Siphon Life, where the opponent loses 2 and you gain 2. Here's another witch, Candle Grove Witch with Coven. At the beginning of combat on your turn, control 3 or more creatures with different powers. She gains flying until end of turn.
Yeah, that's just the alt art for the character that's on the.
For this one, yeah. So it's the same one. Good old Unruly Mob from one of the very first Innistrad sets. Whenever another creature you control dies, they get +1/+1 counters. These classic humans just get real big real fast. Alright, here's one of another big wordy one. Seize the Storm. You create a red elemental creature token with trample, and this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of instant sorceries in your graveyard, plus the number of cards you own with flashback and exile. So stuff that starts to care about the exile total is starting to get significant. And that also, of course, has flashback. Oh, one of the good boy cards. So I'm a big dog person. If you follow Zulu's Instagram, you will see me put pictures of my dog on it sometimes. And he's a big 150-pound Malamute. So
I want to come over and play with your dog.
I mean, he always needs more people to brush him. And this is the Hound Tamer, who, of course, this is what my day-to-day life looks like when I wake up in the morning. This is a good boy. He's 3/3 with trample, puts counters on creatures, and then flips into the Untamed Pup. Keeps putting counters on creatures, is the Nightbound version, and gives other werewolves trample. So the Overrun Wolf, very exciting. Ooh. The next basic, the Swamp. Beautiful swamp with those sinking houses in it. One of my modern decks actually features witches and curses. I might use those for that in the future. We have another werewolf that actually looks like he's straight out of Ravnica. Is it the Reckless Stormseeker? At the beginning of combat on your turn, he gives another creature +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. And of course, then flips into his werewolf side. The Storm Charged Slasher does something very similar. He gives +2/+0, trample, and haste. So, excellent combat trick werewolf that apparently has developed a jetpack.
I mean, werewolves with jetpacks, that's the dream, right?
Yeah, like, we're going to Neon Kamigawa soon, so I assume we'll see something similar.
Neon Dynasty, thank you.
I know what I meant.
I know what you meant, but we can't guarantee that the whole plane is going to be neon.
Sure. But we'll speculate on Kamigawa another time.
Yes.
Right now, it's all horrible zombie nonsense. Let's see. Next is Celebrate the Harvest. It's the extended art. You get to search your library for X basic land cards, where X is the number of different powers among creatures you control, and put them onto the battlefield tapped. So that's going to be a crazy powerful ramp spell in the right green deck. Certainly, I can see a lot of commander players that can manipulate powers really easily. Oh, here's a big mythic, the Enduring Angel. Flying double strike gives you hexproof, and if your life is reduced to 0 or less, you can transform her. Your life total becomes 3, and you don't lose the game as a function of going to 0 that turn, so that's always pretty cool. And then she transforms into flying, continues to give you hexproof, and her power and toughness are equal to your life total, but whenever she attacks, you double your life total. So even though she's a 3/3 on one side and technically only a 3/3 when she flips, she's never attacking for less than 6 damage because she's double strike and then attacks and becomes a 6/6. If she gets to keep attacking,
that's a party.
Yeah, your life total gets real big, real fast. See, next is another one of these basic werewolves, the Tavern Ruffian, but it's got the really nice borders. It flips into the Tavern Smasher.
Now, is that one of the ones that they were previewing? I feel like it is.
Well, the entire set's been previewed now.
That's true, but can I see that for a second?
Sure.
So, yes, this card actually synergizes with another of the werewolves. That werewolf is seen wearing the opponent's, is it this one? Yeah, no, it's him. Look, this one, he's wrestling with the guy, and he's got the bracelet on. On the other side, he's wearing the dude's bracelet. Like, he's just taking his arm.
He's definitely won that fight there. You can see
bit.
the bracelet on the werewolf side, and then on the opponent where he's wrestling with him. See? Another one of the just keyword soup werewolves. This is the one with Menace. Flips into, of course, the Stalking Predator werewolf with Menace. Oh my goodness. Here we go. Alright, this is one of the Black Lantern cards, so we're going to save this to start the next one with.
Oh, that is so much text.
That is wordy and beautiful, and I want that to go on the good camera. And we have a foil version of the one we just saw. Oh, and we have the alt art version of our jetpack werewolf, looking even more Izzety on this side. Let's see, with the big anime hair. Yeah, and here we go. Looks like straight out of a He-Man cartoon or something, the Stormcharged Slasher there. That art is fantastic. Just crazy energy wolf powers. Ready for it. So ready. Then our token from this pack. Vampire on this side. And wolf on this side. Fancy, fancy. Alright, so we'll go ahead and swap back over. So we're going to start with this.
We're going to start off with Jaren, the Corrupted Bishop. He is a legendary creature, human cleric, 2 any 1 black. Whenever Jaren, Corrupted Bishop, enters the battlefield or another non-token human you control dies, you lose 1 life and create a 1/1 white human creature token. Spend 2 and a target human you control gains lifelink until end of turn. And again, it doesn't specify non-token. At the beginning of your next step, if you have exactly 13 life, you may pay 4 any and 2 black, and if you do, transform Jaren. And then you've got Ormondal the Corruptor, who is presumably the demon that corrupted the bishop in the first place. He has flying, trample, and lifelink. You can sacrifice another creature to draw a card, and he's a 6/6. That's kind of a big deal.
So he's a little difficult to transform, but what's kind of funny about this set is from the first Innistrad, there's a card called Moon Mist, which was designed for the werewolves of the set, but it's the first line of the card is transform all humans. And so it now works on a lot of these humans that transform into non-werewolf things, but does not work on the current set of werewolves because it doesn't interact with the nightbound and daybound mechanic.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah, the old werewolves and the new werewolves are having this kind of strange friction in mechanics where even though they are very similar, because the old werewolves aren't night and daybound, they don't quite work the same way sometimes.
Right. So I've just passed over a couple of cards without much text for the sake of the camera. This is our Bat Whisperer. It's a vampire, 3 any 1 black. When Bat Whisperer enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. And we're not transforming it. The Unblinking Observer is 1 any 1 blue. It's a homunculus. Tap to add 1 blue mana, but spend this mana only to pay a disturb cost or cost an instant or sorcery. So, not as useful as it could be, but still going to be kind of fun. Oh, it's one of the other cards that features Wrenn and Seven. Dryads Revival, 2 any 1 green. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. You've got a flashback cost, and I like the dialogue on this card. It's good dialogue. Thank you, Wrenn. Anytime you talk, I'm happy. The Contortionist's Troop, which is a single creature despite being a troop, so we've got some math issues going on here. And it's X any 1 green. It enters the battlefield with X number of +1/+1 counters, which is good because otherwise it's a 0/0. Coven, at the beginning of your instep, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So this is kind of like a pay-for-it version of the old Keldon Warlord to a certain degree.
A little bit.
I'm sure it's a lot more useful than it looks to me right now if I stopped and really thought about it.
Yeah, a lot of these things have strange applications,
Yeah.
and Wizards has been doing the multi-creatures as one for a while.
Yeah.
Back in War of the Spark, Amass was a single creature token, but it was an army, but it
That's
was
a
only
fun time.
one token that just got bigger every time you amassed.
This forest looks friendly. Let's go for a walk here. That
Right?
can't
Oh,
end
man.
badly for us at all.
Not if we want a spooky photo shoot.
Yeah.
That's why I walk into Spooky Woods.
This creature is the Slaughter Specialist. She's a vampire warrior.
excited.
You seem very excited for her. She's 1 any 1 black, and when she enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 white human creature token, which seems a little bit not in your favor. But whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you put a +1/+1 counter on the Slaughter Specialist. So you've just created a mill, basically, to mow down if you're having a good time.
And why I am very excited about that card is the modern Spooky Witch deck and curses I was talking about features a card called Trespasser's Curse, that when a creature enters the boat, you curse the opponent, and then whenever a creature enters the battlefield under their side, they lose life and you gain life.
Oh my gosh.
And she plays into that perfectly.
The synergy there is beautiful.
And then she's a 3/3 for 2, which is a really good ratio that
Right.
also gives you the extra bonus of that synergy. And I'm very excited to modify that deck to feature her.
Oh, that's beautiful. And
Yeah.
she's cheap as hell, which I appreciate. Sigarda's Vanguard, which is Vanguard. I can speak words. 4 any 1 white. She's a creature, angel, 3/3, flash and flying. Whenever she enters the battlefield or attacks, choose any number of creatures with different powers. These creatures gain double strike until end of turn. So that's a party.
Seems pretty significant.
Yep. Legendary artifact, the Celestis, 3 mana. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as the Celestis enters the battlefield. You can tap to add mana, spend 3 and tap, and if it's night, it becomes day. This seems like a really, really good way to mess with someone that's running a werewolf deck and counting on those bigger werewolves.
Yep.
And whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you gain 1 life. You may draw a card. If you do, you have to discard a card.
And that thing, the Celestis, seems to be one of the centerpieces of the story for this set, based on what I've cobbled together from flavor text and whatnot.
So here's our Candlegrove Witch again. She really seems to like us because she keeps cropping up. And we've got another low-text card. Lear, the Disciple of the Drowned. 3 any 2 blue, legendary creature, human wizard. Spells can't be countered. I am never playing a game against my brother again. Each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback equal to that card's mana cost. Ever again. And here's our Tavern Ruffian again.
Yep.
Still rocking that bracelet. I guess I didn't need to ask to see your card, so I'll show you on the better camera. You can see the werewolf here wearing those spiked armbands is wrestling against someone with a fancy little collared bracelet. And then on the next card, still wearing the fancy armbands, also wearing the bracelet now. Like, I'm just going to take your arm. Wake to Slaughter, 3 any, 2 black, 2 red. Choose up to 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. An opponent chooses one of them. Return that card to your hand. Return the other to the battlefield under your control. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. And you've got a flashback cost, so that's a party. It's not a fun party. And our tokens for this pack are a beast, which looks kind of like Disney Gone Feral, and another zombie.
All right, let's see. Head back over here. Let's see. We can see we've got another one of the Tireless Haulers that we saw earlier, and then the Bloodstained Brawler on the other side. We have the Sun Gold Barrage, just destroys a creature with power 4 or greater. Oh, and this super adorable stuffed bear, who is very cute, and it's just costs 2 mana to turn into a 4/4 until end of turn. It's just a big goofy bear stuck up against the wall, and you get to animate it because zombie bears. Everybody loves zombifying bears.
Zombie bears is the worst idea I've heard this week, and I've heard some bad ideas.
Zombears.
Go to your room.
I am in my room.
Then go to someone else's room.
Oh, well, I live in South Seattle. That's such a long drive from here. See, we start off the next pack here. We have a Devious Cover-Up, which I think we saw earlier. It counters a spell, and if a spell will be countered this way, exile, put cards in the graveyard. Saw that. Another one of the Rotten Reunion, which is the one that exiles and gives us zombie tokens. The Novice Occultist. We've seen one of these yet. Let's see, when she dies, you draw a card and lose a life. This looks like this poor innocent person getting drawn to something they shouldn't. Here's one of the pieces of equipment. The Hedge Witch Mask. Gives a creature +1/+1 and makes it so that it can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. What is not in this Innistrad set, actually, that was features in a lot of the previous ones that I liked a lot, was the human-specific equipment. The original Innistrad had like the pitchfork and the butcher's cleaver, like the peasants picking up tools, and they gave them extra bonuses if it was equipped on a human.
Yep, to fight back against the monsters. I kind of like that at this point Innistrad has become so corrupted with the death of the sun and everything that they're just losing humans.
Or the humans are turning to the dark arts, I guess, because now it's all the witches and the coven mechanic is one of the truly new things that we've got. So the humans have just started to embrace the darkness and fight it in a way other than just, pick up tools and fight.
And I feel like all of the non-witch humans we've seen have had to transform into something really icky.
Mm-hmm. Or they're the humans that have the new Disturbed mechanic, where they're becoming these powerful spirits, like kind of how Geist of St. Traft was there from the original Innistrad, being like, hey, we can come back from the dead in a way that's positive, rather than in a way that's negative. All right. Ooh. Next up, this is actually a card I'm kind of excited about for Eternal formats. Cathartic Pyre. It's a choice card where you do 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker, or discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards. So it kind of gives you that old Faithless Looting effect, but also has the potential to be a Lightning Bolt, which is pretty useful. Just any card that has modal options like that says, hey, I can either do damage or turn it into card advantage. Useful. I hand you that one.
Yeah, that's black and a lot of text.
Yep. Let's see. We have a plains here. Actually, a very nice looking plains. Full art. Another copy of the Celestis.
It's good, given how central that is to the storyline, that they seem to be putting a slightly higher number of those in than some of the other rares.
Yes. See, Visions of Glory. It is a sorcery where you create a 1/1 white human creature for every creature you control, and then it has flashback for 10, but it costs less mana, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you control. This is another one of the commander cards. So if you've got like a 7 mana commander, that only costs 3 to flashback. Oh, here is one of Innistrad's iconic creature types, the Big Demon. This is the Lord of the Forsaken, 6/6 flying trample. You sacrifice another creature to have any player mill 3 cards, and then you can pay life to add mana, but you can only use that mana to cast spells from your graveyard. Still very, very relevant. I think this card's going to see a lot of play in a lot of formats, because anything that lets you turn life into mana, channel, seems to get maybe a little more out of hand than it needs to. Step, we have fancy things. Dawnheart Wardens. They have Vigilance and Coven. The beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, gives your creatures +1/+0. Coven is always the same basic text, but see, another one of our Werewolf Soup keywords, the trample one we've seen already. Oh, another one of these full art lands, the Haunted Ridge, black and red, the sunset over the mountain.
Oh, that's pretty.
That is gorgeous. See, another one of the werewolves, the Reach one. Oh, someone was asking about cats in chat earlier. I have good news for you. Here is a bunch of kitties sitting around some sort of spirit effect. For Can't Stay Away, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains if this creature would die, exile it instead, and it has flashback. So there you go. Whole bunch of kitties hanging around. Did their person die, and instead of being able to eat them like cats are supposed to do, they turned into a ghost?
That's possible.
Then our token, zombie on one side, spirit on the other. There we go.
I was concerned about a year ago because of reasons that I might die, and actually contacted our local coroner to find out what would happen if I died and my cats ate me. Like, would my cats be punished in some way for having eaten my body? And it turns out no. In Washington State, if you die and your dog eats your corpse before somebody finds it, they will take your dog and put it into quarantine, essentially, until it has had time to pass all the human tissue, and then it can be given back to a family member or placed in a new home.
That's good.
It's actually weirdly comforting to know that they won't just destroy your friends.
Yeah, I
because
guess
they did what friends do.
Mm-hmm.
This is Necrosynthesis.
I'm gonna make sure people can see that. There we go.
Necrosynthesis, it's an enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When the enchanted creature dies, look at the top X cards of your library where X is its current power. Put one of these cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's fun. That's a fun time. Then we've got our next pack.
Yep.
I shuck much more enthusiastically at home. The Hobbling Zombie. He is a zombie creature, obviously. He's got Death Touch. When he dies, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decay. So this guy has 2/2. You basically get to keep him after he's died at the exact same power level. He just can't fight for you anymore. So that's fun. The Festival Crasher is a nightmare pumpkin person that has come to ruin your day. That's a devil. Whenever you crash and cast an instant or sorcery, Festival Crasher gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So many candles, so many flammables, so little time. Eaten Alive, it's black sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 3 any 1 black. Exile target creature or planeswalker. So that's a nice nightmare.
Yep.
We've got our Tireless Hauler. I feel like we've seen him before.
Yeah, we've seen
just with
Tireless
different
Hauler a
art,
few times.
but
I think
here's
this might be our first
the-
version of the basic art.
Yeah, here's the other side of his basic art, but we have definitely seen him as a creature, so I'm not going to read you the text. Hungry for More is a sorcery, black-red. It seems like they're leaning into black-red with this set, which is nice after Strixhaven, where they didn't do really any black-red.
Yeah, Strixhaven was themed around those opposite color pairs, where Innistrad has... they're all over the place, actually.
Yeah.
This set has almost every color pair represented in
And
a few
they're
places.
having a fun time. Sorcery, create a 3/1 black and red vampire creature token with trample, lifelink, and haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, and for flashback, you can cast it again for 1 + black + red, though you do have to exile it after that. So that's at least, it's not here forever.
Yeah.
Have we already seen the Fangblade Brigand?
I think
Again,
so.
we're starting to get the basic art of some of the werewolves that we got the extended art on before.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Mhm.
And again, I mean, all of the Innistrad werewolves, they're a lot of fun, but they're basically a standard creature, and then they become a bigger standard creature.
We haven't seen Arlen yet, and we haven't actually seen Tolivar, the werewolf leader.
That is true. And doesn't Geralf have a card in this
No,
set? No,
Geralf,
he doesn't.
no.
Geralf?
We know that Geralf will have a card in the next set, Crimson
Crimson
Vow.
the split up there.
Yeah, with for Soren's my big vampire Greek wedding.
I like this island card. It looks like there are some pretty good frogs in that swamp. I'm sure they would be friendly.
Oh, we haven't even. There's a.
Oh, you were just saying you wanted to see Tolivar.
There he is.
He is a red-green. I'm going to pass him over to you so that you can read him off when we get back to you.
Good boys.
They are good boys. The Curse of Obsession is for any 1 red for an aura curse. Enchant player. At the beginning of the enchanted player's draw step, that player draws 2 additional cards. At the beginning of enchanted player's in step, that player discards their hand. So that is a nasty mill, really.
Those curse effects. I loved the curse mechanic when it first came out in Innistrad.
Okay, so here we've got a Briarbridge tracker. It's a human who doesn't have a transform. She's just kicking it, still being not evil in Innistrad. Human scout with vigilance. When Briarbridge tracker enters the battlefield, investigate. What does investigate mean?
Investigate means you create a clue token, which is an artifact token with the type clue, and you can pay 2 colorless mana and sacrifice it to draw a card.
Cool. As long as you control a token, Briarbridge tracker gets +2/+0. So she can be a 4/3 creature until you sacrifice that token. The Kessig Naturalist, which is a human werewolf, daybound. Whenever Kessig Naturalist attacks, add 1 green or 1 red mana. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. And the other side is the Lord of the Ulvenwald. Other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1, and you have the same effect as the untransformed side. Whenever they attack, you get red or green. So that's a fun time. And I'm going to pass this over. Oh, no, this is very dark. I'm going to keep this here.
Yeah, we've seen that one a couple times
have
too.
we? Good.
Yeah.
Here's Dennick, the Pious Apprentice. So there's blue-white, lifelink. Cards in graveyard can't be targets of spells or abilities. and you've got a disturb cost. So that's a fun time. And then on the other side, you have Dennick, the Pious Apparition. Flying, whenever one or more creature cards are put into graveyards from anywhere, investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. If Dennick, Pious Apparition would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead.
And they had to put that text on all of the creatures with disturb, otherwise you would be able to just keep bringing them back over and over.
And I'm in favor of not being able to infinitely bring the same creature to the board. That's why we instated the 4-card limit.
Yeah.
The Hound Tamer, that's more good dogs. It's a human werewolf with trample for 3 and 1 green. You can put a +1/+1 creature on a target counter on a target creature, and it's day bound. So on the other side, it's the Untamed Pup. So I feel like we actually saw this before with alternate art. Trample, other wolves and werewolves
we've
you
seen
control
this
have trample.
one.
Okay, good. Oh, the Pithing Needle.
Oh, right, this reprint.
Yes, the Pithing Needle is a beautiful nightmare artifact. As Pithing Needle enters the battlefield, choose a card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities.
Yeah, modern staple.
Yep, and here is an insect token. It's our first one. It's a nasty looking ant. And then our human, who's still having such a good time with that pumpkin.
Yay, that's a good one. Right, just a second, and we'll get to the next pack. Let's see, first I'm going to go over Tolivar right here. The Dire Overlord. He is the new legendary werewolf, and whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals damage to a player, you get to draw a card. And, importantly, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more wolves or werewolves, it automatically becomes night, and you transform all human werewolves you control. And, of course, he's daybound himself. Now, the reason it's worded that way is because of what I was talking about earlier with the werewolf friction. He needs to be able to transform the old werewolves and the new werewolves because he's designed to be the new werewolf commander deck staple. And then on the other side here, we have him as Tolivar, the Midnight Scourge. And it's the same thing whenever werewolves do combat damage, you get to draw cards. And then for red, green, and X, a target wolf or werewolf you control gets +X/+0 and trample until end of turn. So he's got that Kessig Wolf Run effect built into him from the original Innistrad.
That's fun.
We've got 2 packs left each after this one. We're more than halfway there. And since we've seen a lot of these already, we'll start going quicker.
Yeah, speeding up.
Yep. We got Defenestrate, one of the new removal pieces. Just a simple 3-mana destroy target creature without flying. The opposite of a plummet. Organ Hoarder enters the battlefield. You get to look at the top 3 cards, put one. This is an old Invader Zim cartoon wherein Zim tries to just harvest as many organs as he can to pretend to be human. The more organs you have, the more human you are.
I am not terribly human.
Oh no. Turn to nature. Artifact enchantment removal. Ooh, Ecstatic Awakener. New human wizard. 1 black for 1/1. Sacrifice another creature. Draw a card. And then you transform it into the Awoken Demon. Just a big 4/4 demon guy. Stromkirk Blood Thief. One of the vampires. Beginning of the end step. If opponent lost life, they get counters. Overwhelmed Archivist. New human wizard with Disturbed. When he enters, draw a card, discard a card, and then you can flip him into the Archive Haunt. When he attacks, you draw cards, discard a card, and of course the Disturb removal. Another one of these beautiful mountains. Vanquish the Horde. Oh, one of the board wipes from the set. This costs less mana to cast for each creature on the battlefield and then destroys all creatures. Straightforward, useful board wipe that you can cast for potentially 2 mana. Moorland Rescuer. When it dies, you return any number of creature cards with total power X from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X was Moorland's Rescuer's power. So that's actually a whole lot of cool reanimation potential. Memory Deluge. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast the spell. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So that's actually pretty fascinating. Since that has a flashback of 7, means on the flashback you're looking at a lot more cards and have a lot greater potential to get stuff that you're looking for.
Right.
So that's pretty fascinating. See? Here is Beyblade Scoundrel.
Yeah.
Just the special frames on the black. Just do not quite like the lighting on this side over here.
No, it just eats up all of your...
Another Tireless Hauler. Oh, another one of the dual lands. The Deserted Beach, the white and blue. Very nice art there. Another Tavern Ruffian. And we've seen Angel Fire Ignition. And then another token with an elemental on one side and a human on the other. There we go.
It's a party.
Yeah, pumpkin party.
I like a pumpkin party.
Yes, I'm ready for pumpkin spice stuff to start being everywhere. I bought pumpkin spice waffle mix from the Costco this week, and I'm ready to start making pumpkin spice waffles. So that's going to be a thing.
Okay, I'm going to read this off and start my next pack. It looks like your attention might be needed. If you need to
yeah,
for
let
a
me
moment.
make sure that your camera is the one we're looking at.
Okay.
There we go.
There
All
we
right.
go.
I'll be
And I
back
just
in
won't
just a
ask you any
second.
questions while you're away. So what we've got here is the Banblade Scoundrel, which is from the pack that he just handed over to me because it's hard to read these on his camera. That's 3 any 1 black for a human rogue werewolf. Whenever the Baneblade Scoundrel becomes blocked, each creature blocking it gets -1/-1 until end of turn, and he is daybound. And on the Nightbound side, same effect, but whenever a creature blocking Baneblade Marauder dies, that creature's controller loses 1 life, and he's a bigger critter, so he's a nightmare. We're going to go ahead and practice. Oh, you are returning before
I am
finish
returning.
reading off that extremely complicated werewolf. Yay!
Yeah.
So here we've got the Blade Brand. It's an instant. Target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. There's a nightmare.
Yeah, we've seen that one.
Yep, the Cathar Commander, which is a human soldier with flash to sacrifice the Cathar Commando. Oh, Commando, not Commander.
Yeah.
Destroy target artifact or enchantment. I like the color text here, which is honorable tactics are for honorable foes. That's just a party. Here's another Hobbling
None of
Zombie.
those on Innistrad.
Yeah, consider. Look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard and draw a card for 1 blue. There's nothing about either discarding or putting elsewhere in your deck, so now you just know what you're drawing next turn. Unless you want to exile it. So that's a party for you.
Yeah, Miracles would like that if Miracles was still a deck.
Yep.
Is Miracles still a deck?
I don't know.
I haven't looked at the modern
Dual-craft
meta.
Trainer, it's a human soldier, first strike and coven. If you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, target creature you control gains double strike until end of turn. That'll synergize well with that angel who doubles in power every time she attacks.
Yep. Super relevant.
We've got another dog here, the Dreadhound. It's a demon dog. Yes, good boys for you. When Deathhound enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Whenever a creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from a library, each opponent loses 1 life. And that's a 6/6 demon dog. That's a party. Oh, this swamp makes me happy. I just want to go hang out there. Ew. This is Slogurk the Overslime.
Oh yeah, Legendary Ooze.
Legendary Ooze. He's got Trample. Whenever a land card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on Slogurk. Remove 3 +1/+1 counters from Slogurk to return it to its owner's hand. And when Slogurk leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. Ugh. And he's sticky. The card is not actually sticky.
I was like,
the card
what?
is fine. I'm referring to the art. That is
Yes.
a terrifying critter.
There's a lot of cool oozes in this set.
Visions of Dominance. Oh, this frog is having the best daydream ever. Look at him. He's just looking at his reflection and thinking of himself as huge.
He's a little frog guy.
Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then double the number of +1/+1 counters on it. Hey. It's got an extremely expensive flashback cost, where the spell costs X less to cast this way, where X is the greatest mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone. I really like that frog. He makes me happy.
There's a very goofy frog card in this set. I forget what it's called, but it makes a copy of something, except that thing is a 1/1 frog.
Yes.
And I
That's
just,
Sneeze's mini.
yeah, croaking counterpart. There it is.
Yeah. The Curse of Shaken Faith is another enchant player. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell other than the first spell they cast each turn, or copies a spell, Curse of Shaken Faith deals 2 damage to them. Maybe I can play against my brother again. The Dawnheart Rejuvenator, which is a human warlock. I think this is one of our witches.
Yep, we've seen this one. This is the one that adds mana.
Good, good. And the Tavern Ruffian, I know we've seen.
Yep.
I made a big deal about it. But here's the Overground Farmland. It's another of those beautiful dual lands. I don't run green-white, but I'm going to want to just so I can have all of these frostbitten pumpkins.
I like that we haven't seen a duplicate on those yet. I hope we get the full run of 5.
The full run of 5 would be nice.
Yeah, I think we've gotten at least 4 now. We might have gotten all 5.
Oh, well, you had to jinx it.
Oh, no. Why do I keep saying
Yes,
things?
you say things with your face, and then they happen. The card I whisked by was the Candle Grove Witch, and we've seen it several times. Overgrown Farmland again. And then we've got a spider with reach and a wolf.
All right. Yep. Let's get my old pile out of the way. Well, I'm gonna say now that I'm just so sad that we haven't seen Arlen Cord yet. So, of course, now that I'm trying to make it work, it's not gonna. Another Candle Trap. It's a creature enchantment that gives the thing Defender, and you prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to it. And if you have Coven, make them sacrifice it. So here's Dawnheart Rejuvenator, one of the new Warlocks. Yeah, it's the one we keep seeing. That's just the original art. Blessed Defiance, we've seen a couple times. Gavany Silversmith. ETBs gives a +1/+1 counter up to 2 target creatures. The Dawn Guard is one of the ones that makes it become day or night when they enters. And then when it becomes night or day, you look at the top cards of your library and reveal a creature with CMC 3 or less, and put it into your hand. Ooh, another one of the artifacts that transforms, the Mysterious Tome. Blue and 2, and you can use it to draw a card and transform it into the Chilling Chronicle. And then for 1 colorless, you can pay to tap a non-land permanent and transform it back. This is one of the few non-werewolves that actually transforms back and forth frequently. Usually you don't see that. Another one of the forests, the wonderful forests. Oh, alright. Not Arlen Cord, but I'm not unhappy with you. One of the Forgotten Archangels, Liesa. It's 2 white, a black, and 2. She is a 4/5 flying lifelink, and whenever another non-token creature dies, you return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. And if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Very, very powerful effect.
Yeah.
On a fantastic character that I'm excited to find out about, because we knew the other 3 Archangels, and now that Bruna and Gisela are dead, it's just Sigarda having another one show up out of nowhere. What's that going to be about? See, next up is one of the Commander Zombies, Ravenous Rotbelly. When he enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice up to 3 zombies, and when you sacrifice 1 or more zombies this way, each opponent sacrifices that many creatures, which is great, because if you've got those little decayed zombie tokens that you're not blocking with, and you can only ever attack with once, so why bother? Sacrifice them to this guy, kill 3 of your opponent's creatures. Good job, little decayed zombies.
Yeah, I'm not down with that as someone who runs creature feature decks.
See, Wake to the Slaughter we saw earlier, and then we're getting into more of these werewolves that we've seen. Here's the fancy art of the Hound Tamer that we saw earlier with the good boys, the untamed pup. Oh, there we go. All right, we got there. There's the Rockfell Veil. We had to get 1 duplicate before we saw it.
And what do you get from that? Is that red-green?
This one is the red-green one.
Oh,
yep.
Nice.
The very nice walk through the woods. One of the most friendly land arts, and it's still barely friendly. Another foil of this guy. Side Assailant. Oh, and another one of the curses. Oh, I like this. This is a curse I like. The Curse of Leeches. It's a curse with Daybound and Nightbound. It attaches to a player. At the beginning of their upkeep, they lose a life and you gain a life. But it's Daybound and Nightbound, and when it transforms, it actually is no longer a curse. It is in fact a leech, and it's just a big 4/4 lifelink creature until it becomes day again. And then it reattaches to them. So that's got some interesting implications. And then here we have a burb token on one side and the zombie on the other.
Nice.
Go.
That's empty.
Yeah, there we go.
I've been being very careful. I am into precision. And husking. So let's get in here. Come on, you can let me. You can let me. I believe in you. There we go. Festival Crasher we have already seen, which is good because you can't see it at all as I try to remember where to put my hand. There we go.
Yep.
Kind of. Festival Crasher. The Candle Trap. That's an enchantment. It's an aura enchantment, but it hits a creature. Enchanted creature has Defender. You can prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by enchanted creature. And as a coven, if you spend 2 and 1 white to sacrifice it, you can exile the enchanted creature. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. So this is something that you stick on your opponent's creatures. That's going to be a party. Oh, here's our boy, the Jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, Pumpkinhead.
Pumpkinhead. 1 any color artifact. Spend 1 and tap to sacrifice him and exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. Draw a card. Or spend 1 and exile Jack-o'-lantern from your graveyard to add 1 mana of any color. By the end of the festival, it was the only thing still grinning. That's a good nightmare. I'm glad we got to see him. Harvest-Tide Infiltrator. Have we seen this one?
Yes, we have. We've seen the specialty art. I think that might be the first one we've seen on this normal art.
Yeah, there are so many of the werewolves, and each of them is 2 people that I just can't keep straight which ones we've seen and which ones I heard about.
Mm-hmm.
The Root Coil Creeper is a plant horror, which is always going to be close to my heart. Tap to add 1 mana of any color. Tap to add 2 mana of any color to be used only to cast spells from your graveyard. Spend 1 green, 1 blue, and tap to exile Root Coil Creeper and return target card with flashback you own from exile to your hand. So this is a good way to get stuff back out of exile and make your opponent's day very, very unpleasant.
And then cast it again and then flash it back again.
Yep.
Remember when once he promised us that interacting with exile was not something we would see very much ever, and now there's like half a dozen cards to do it. Womp womp, here we are.
The Putrifying Dragon. 3 any, 2 red for a 4/3 dragon with flying. Whenever he attacks, it deals 1 damage to target creature defending player controls. If that creature is a zombie, Putrifying Dragon deals 2 damage to it instead. So he'll have a good time.
Yeah, which is perfect because so many zombies are those little 2/2 tokens, so he's great at just sweeping those out.
And here's Plains. I just love the foil lands. The Bloodthirsty Adversary. It's another vampire with haste. When Bloodthirsty Adversary enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 and 1 red for any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1/+1 counters on Bloodthirsty Adversary. Then exile up to that many target instant and or sorcery cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard and copy them. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs.
Seems real good.
Yep. Here's Lenore, the Autumn... Is it Lenore or Lenore? Lenore. We'll go with Lenore. It's not Lenore, but it's close. Autumn Sovereign, she's another of our commanders. She's a green-white human noble. With Coven, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, draw a card. Burn down the house! Hello.
Can't do it without singing the song just a little bit in my head. Burn down the house.
Yep. This is an 80s movie happening in Innistrad right now. Sorcery. Choose 1. Burn down the house deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Now, it doesn't specify that you don't control. So if you use that one, are you nuking you're nuking your own field. Or create 3 1/1 red devil creature tokens with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. They gain haste until end of turn. I'm not sure I like how much that would hurt me, but the Dawnheart Mentor is a human warlock. When she enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 with white human creature token. You've got Coven. Target creatures you control gain +3/+3. Target creature, not creatures. +3/+3 and get trampled till the end of turn. Activate only if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers. And despite the fancy border, this is not a day and night card. This Bird Admirer, however, is a human archer werewolf with reach and daybound.
We've seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen most of the werewolves that just have the single ability. I don't know if we've gotten this one yet, though.
Graveyard Trespasser, Ward, discard a card. Whenever Graveyard Trespasser enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And then the Graveyard Glutton ward to discard a card. Whenever Graveyard Glutton enters the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. For each creature card exiled this way, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So that's a party. We have definitely seen the Tireless Hauler.
Yep.
Oh, and here's the Champion of the Perished, which synergizes just beautifully with a card from the original Innistrad, the Champion of the Perished, who was trying to defend the humans. He clearly failed because he is a zombie now with a big, scary, edgy sword. And whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Champion of the Perished. So if you've got a zombie mill going, he's going to get real big and real bad real fast.
Yep, those all those decayed tokens that you're just going to throw away. Great, make them bigger.
And here's Wrenn and Seven's emblem card. You have no maximum head size. And a clue. Oh, yay, and I know what that means now.
Yep.
It's time for our last
Yep,
pack.
the final pack from the collector booster. 1 second. Transfer over.
And now it's also time to go shush because our tech delays means that we're still talking when they think we'll be done. Sorry.
It's all good. We're operating out of our special room, so we are loading in all of the Midnight Hunt. Just off camera, you can't see there. There's giant piles
so much of it
of this set that we're getting ready for our pre-release this weekend. If you're local, don't forget you can get tickets and sign up for our pre-release. They start at 2 p.m.
I just want to build a castle
Friday.
of Midnight Hunt boxes.
Look, I've been working in game stores for longer than I care to think about, and I've definitely never ever made forts out of deliveries of gaming boxes before.
I
Not
appreciate
ever.
the specificity there.
All right, last pack. Let's see. Some Shipwreck Sifters. Some Spirits. When they enter the battlefield, draw a card, discard. And when you discard a card, they can get bigger. Brimstone Vandal. It's the one with Menace, if it's day or night, and pings opponents. Arrogant Outlaw, we saw, is the one that does a Siphon Life. Homestead Courage. Gives things counters with flashback. Winterhorn Blessings, the one that... See, put counters on 1 target creature you control, tap creature you don't control, and it doesn't untap, just freeze down. The Village Watch. It's the Haste Daybound Werewolf. The Forests. Oh, another Champion of the Perished.
Oh, yay!
So we have ready out of that. One of the Hordewing Scob. It's one of the commander cards. Gives your zombies flying.
Yeah.
And whenever 1 or more zombies you control deal combat damage to an opponent, you may draw cards equal to the number of opponents dealt damage this way, and then discard that many cards. Bloodline Culling. It's one of the option cards. Oh, it's not quite Dismember, but it's still pretty good. It will either give 1 creature -5/-5, or all creature tokens -2/-2. There's a lot of potential in that for removal space. Another Dawnheart Rejuvenator. Spell Rune Painter. I don't know if we've seen this one.
We have not.
Whenever you cast instant or sorcery, it gains +1/+1 until end of turn, and then transforms into the Spell Rune Howler. Whenever you cast instant or sorcery, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. See, the Reckless Stormseeker. This one was the Jetpack Werewolf. The Dawnheart Mentor. We actually just did this one. It was the Coven.
Yeah, I hope we pull a Jafari in there.
Nope. The last card is another one of the Lords of the Forsaken, the big demon that mills our opponents and things. And the last token was Spider and a Wolf. So no Arlen, no Teferi.
I'm sorry.
But we did get the Wrenn and Seven, so we're very
Seven,
happy
which
about that.
Honestly, is the one I wanted to see, so...
Well, there we go. So, yeah. All right, and we're back to just looking at us now, not the cards. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you for coming out. This was so much fun.
So I love opening and sorting cards more than anything else about Magic, and seeing new cards is just always so exciting. Mm-hmm. Even if you've seen the pictures, it's not the same.
Yeah, having the physical cards just in your hand just feels so good.
Yes, so nice.
And it was very amusing. Like, you were coming here regularly talking about us on Twitter. I was like, oh, this person is, has a relatively big writing following, and I should invite them to come hang out with us to just get social media. And then, not until after I had invited her to come do this did I find out,
Surprise!
writing from the set.
Oh yeah, no, we were all enthralled to ND Daddy for like a long frickin' time there. The Wizards of the Coast NDA, I literally was not allowed to say that I was writing for Magic Story until it dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So the day I knew it was supposed to go live, I was just waiting, like, is it gonna post today? Am I actually allowed to talk today? Reload 87 times until literally I got up to go to the bathroom, and in those 5 minutes, the entire Magic community landed on my social media, yelling at me. It was magical.
I can imagine. I'm familiar with those NDAs. I used to do events for Wizards of the Coast. I'm actually wearing one of the 2015 event shirts. So those NDAs are giant books that are just so much going on. But it has been delightful to have you here, and I'm sure we'll have you back for Midnight Coven and other sets and for whatever else, because you're just here at the store just trying to get by all of our Strixhaven right now.
I actually successfully bought all of your Strixhaven set boosters. You're completely out, and I still didn't get all the frickin' planeswalkers.
I'm sure we'll do our best to track them down for you.
You already did. I've sorted out my Strixhaven.
I'm glad you got it.
So thank you guys for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much. Come out. You can pre-order any of the Midnight Hunt at ZulusGames.com. You can come out this weekend and play in the pre-release, get the cards, all the promos, and join us next time. Follow us on Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the things for all the updates about stuff. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, and thank you again, Shauna.
Thanks for having me.